Right, we're going to cook my seafood chowder. So first off we need to get the pan on, and then into the pan we're going to add the butter. So a big knob of butter, probably about 20 grams of butter there. So that in, and then we'll just swirl that round. And once it starts melting a little bit more than that, we're going to add the shallots in just to gently fry those off. Just moving it round. And in with your shallots now. And as the butter's melting, because we're going to make a roux and then make the soup with this, it'll just cook off the shallots slightly. So just give it a swirl around. Use a spoon if you like, just as it's coming up to the heat. All you're doing really is just taking out the harsh onion flavour of the shallots when they're raw. You're not going to colour them or anything really. And as soon as the butter's all melted, we're going to just turn off the heat and stir in the flour. So hopefully you should just be about there. See, like this, just a bowl of melted butter with some shallots. Not too interesting. Right, so off with the heat and in with the flour. And then we just give this a stir in, and it should just go dry instantly. That's what we want, into like a paste. Like that. Right, now we just need to turn the heat back on. And then just giving it a stir. All you're doing now is cooking out the flour so that it doesn't have a flour taste to it anymore. I'm using the lowest burner. I think I'm just going to turn this on to one of the middle ones now. Just give it a little bit extra heat. Nothing much will be happening with it to look at this stage, but just keep stirring it and keep it on the heat, and it'll just be cooking out the flour. And then we're going to add in the fish stock next. So you can leave it and go and get your fish stock if you don't have that to hand. Right, that'll do. Now all that we need to do now is start adding in the fish stock, just bit by bit. So to start off with, you just need a little bit like that. So, 2 or 3 tablespoons, and then if it's bubbling like that, just take it off the heat and stir and stir and stir and stir. And what you'll get is a ball again. And so basically each time you're adding in the liquid, this should thin. But each time you add the liquid in, you keep stirring, and it'll come back to a paste. And each time you add more and more liquid in, it'll be thinner and thinner and thinner. So a little bit more liquid. And then stir it. So just keep stirring. It'll look awfully lumpy like this at the moment, but that's absolutely fine. If you just keep stirring and trust it, it'll be absolutely fine. And just control the heat now. So that's plenty hot enough. I'm just going to move this back onto the small burner again, because that'll be plenty hot enough. It'll also be easier for you to be able to see what I'm doing. Right, just stirring, nice and quickly. And just make sure you scrape around the sides of the pan as well, just to make sure that everything gets stirred in, so no bits are getting burnt on the sides. Right, and at the moment we've got a pretty not very nice looking paste, but just keep adding the stock and stir. And this is exactly the same process that you'd use if you were going to make a white sauce or a cheese sauce, except obviously you wouldn't use fish stock, you'd use milk. Exactly the same process. So stirring, stirring, stirring. As you can see, it's starting to look like a sauce. Not much like a soup, but that's fine. But a little bit like a sauce. Remember, it'll have a few little lumps in it because that'll be the shallots. So don't worry about that. Right. And each time that you add the stock, you can add a little bit more than the time before, because it'll work absolutely fine. And trust me, this is the only laborious part of this dish. After this is done, you'll say goodbye to me for about 5 minutes and then come back and we're practically done. Right, so that bit stirred in, and then a bit more. And what you're looking for at this stage is quite a thin consistency of like a thin soup, because when we add the potato in a minute, the starch from the potato will help thicken it up, and we're adding a lot of seafood as well, so don't worry about that. Alright, we're almost there. Try and get all the roux off my spoon. Right. And then the last of the stock. Right. Hopefully yours should look a little bit like this. See, it's quite runny at this stage, but that's absolutely fine. So all we need to do now is bring this up to the boil, if it's not boiling already, and then add in your potatoes. So once you've added in your potatoes, just leave it on a simmer until the potatoes are cooked enough for the point of a knife to go into them. It'll take about 6 minutes, but you don't need me standing here harping on at you in the background. So pop my potatoes in, and then yeah, it's about 5 or 6 minutes. See you then.